Guess we're all set. Okay, this is the planning board meeting of September 28th, 2021. If we could please stand for the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Maybe I want to make an announcement regarding the modification for Pontiff, because we have someone here. Ms. Richards is here.
Okay. Okay, we'll kind of take these out of order here. Under public hearings on our agenda tonight, we have the application of JCM Carver Acquisitions LLC. This is one of them. LLC requesting a special permit for a fast food or drive-in restaurant. And this was at 287 Tremont Street. And this public hearing is going to be continued to October 12th, Jim?
That's correct.
Okay. So anybody here tonight for that particular hearing, that will be on October 12th. We also have another one tonight that will be continued to October 12th, and this is the request for a minor modification to a site plan at 96 Forest Street, Eric Pontiff, and this was to combine 4 bays in a 5-bay rear building and lease to a tenant of the front building. And this will be continued to October 12th. So we're not going to hear that tonight.
And then, Mr. Chair, when we're ready, we need to open up the public hearing for JCM and then continue it to the next hearing date, to the November 9th date. Because we already opened up, this is for the second special permit for this particular project.
Oh, okay. Do I have that?
Do you want to do that now, or do you want to start off with the other case?
No, I can do that now, and then we can continue it. But I need a, yeah.
Motion.
This is the one you already have, right?
Well, I have to open up the meeting, and then we'll continue it.
I got to find the right.
Okay, let's start with the, under the public hearings, let's do this then, on the application of Miriam Gorey requesting a special permit pursuant to sections 5300 and 2230 of the Carver zoning bylaw, located at 149 South Main Street in Carver, Mass. Assessors map 94, lot 11-0-R, to operate a hobby commercial kennel and residential agricultural district. And here tonight for a discussion about this and a possible vote. Now, this is a continuation of a meeting we had quite a while ago, and so then we got caught up with moving fences and things like that. So I guess the fence has been moved. I know that Jim Walsh and I had made a couple of trips over to look at the property lines and whatever since our last meeting. So I don't know if you, I did read an email that Ms. Gorey had sent. Do you have anything to speak about this, Jim, before?
We had opened the hearing, and then during the process, we discovered that the fence for her kennel was technically, it was on town property. And then also the other question came up about whether or not she was using town property or cutting trees on town property. So she had her surveyor who had done a plan for her go out, mark, where the property line was, and also where the property line was, where the kennel was. Ms. Gorey has moved the fence, so it's now off the town property. And then we also had a email from Mr. and Mrs. Jewett, Lori and David Jewett, from July 28th, and so they had some suggestions to help keep the dogs quiet. I had those in your packet last week.
Oh, last week, that's why, yeah, I saw it on my phone, but yeah, I don't have, do you have a copy of that? Let me see.
There you go.
Oh, you have it? Okay. Let's see, the one that I was looking for was,
There's one from Miriam Gorey that was, what was the date of that one? September 21st, and then,
yeah, do you have that available?
yeah, so let's see. 21.
Oh, okay, I think this is it.
That is it.
Yeah, thank you, yeah. I just didn't see it. I had my glasses on, I didn't see it. It says, yeah, we have implemented several techniques for keeping dogs quiet, including moving barking dogs inside, changing configuration of dogs, utilizing bark collar, utilizing ultrasonic sound, maintaining communication with Curry's as a proactive measure, and providing neighbors with phone number to voice concerns. It says we have moved the fence back to the property line. We generally have 15 to 20 dogs here on a daily basis. The dogs are split up into 4 pens and created indoors for rest time. There is a regular rotation between outdoors and indoors. Dropping off and picking up is generally staggered and occurs from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then again at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Average stay is between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Clients text prior and upon arrival. We offer daycare and boarding. Daycare hours are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and boarding 7 days a week. Dogs who are boarded spend time outdoors and indoors. As all dogs are leashed when walked. My personal dogs may run off leash on my property and on bog walks. They wear e-collars. We have an electric fence. They are leashed when we are in sight of other dogs or people. And dog waste is cleaned up daily and as needed if it is disposed of on a weekly basis. So,
And then there's also an email from Lori and David Jewett. I think if you flip the page, it's on the other side.
okay, so this is the one that keep the dogs as quiet as possible. Maximum of 12 dogs boarded at any time. Limit business operations to Monday through Friday. If overnight stays or weekdays are allowed, dogs are kept inside. Keep dogs leashed when being walked or exercised. Clean up after the dogs on the surrounding bogs. And run the business on her own property. So, I know that you, I don't know, any other questions by planning board members? Did you want us to say anything, Ms. Corey?
I think that email that I sent pretty much covers everything.
Okay.
The only thing that I did kind of want to note is one of the ways that I manage I know there's a concern about the number of dogs, and what I had said to Jim when he came out is, I would say 90% of the time, I have maybe 8 dogs outside and then other dogs inside, and I rotate it that way. And that's one way that we keep the noise down, and the energy level, balanced for the dogs. So I just wanted to make a note of that. I think that's probably it.
And you've been operating this business now for a number of years.
Yeah.
And how many years have you operated the business?
I believe 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So have you had any complaints from anyone?
No, I have not.
All right. I see there are neighbors here tonight. Do you have anything you'd like to speak about?
We had just asked about a 12-dog limit, just to control the amount of noise, that
They need a dog by themselves with them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you
No,
could give us your name and address, please.
Dave and Laura Jew at 275 Tremont Street.
Okay.
Sorry. It's still noticeably loud. I know she's trying and everything, and we appreciate that. But we're just figuring that if we could keep the number under a dozen, maybe it would be reasonable for the amount of dogs.
There was a situation at the beginning of September where I heard all the way in my house, dogs actually sounding like they were killing each other, and she had to go out there with a boat horn and go, wah, wah, to stop them. It was so bad. They sounded like they were tearing each other apart. They were just mauling each other, and I could hear it in my house. There was one dog that was losing. It was just screaming, and the other dogs were like, and I could hear it all the way to my house, and my house is quite a ways away. So that concerns me.
That was not my property.
That was not your property that was happening?
No.
Because it certainly sounded like it.
Well, I know that when we did our walk, there's a dog care center too. Yeah, and they have dogs outside, and they were barking when we got there. So I don't know if that was part of that or.
A dog fight, a really bad dog fight, where the person had to use a boat horn to stop it.
I don't have a boat horn, and I haven't had a dog
It was like
fight.
a loud, beep, beep noise to stop the dogs from fighting. Okay, anyway.
It sounded like all the concerns are being addressed. We
Yeah.
just wanted to try to have, where it's a hobby kennel, have about a dozen dogs, and that would be what would constitute a hobby kennel, because there's no clear definition for it.
Well, it's a hobby commercial kennel, that's what's on our.
Yeah.
Right, so it's a commercial kennel because the commercial kennel covers daycare and also grooming, boarding and grooming businesses, so.
Okay, so what would the limit of dogs be then?
So it's a minimum of 11 dogs, and there's no limit on the number of dogs under the commercial kennel section of the bylaw. As
No
defined.
limit? So
Right, so it just says collection of 11 or more dogs, 3 months or older, maintained for any purpose. Skip about the letters, but where the boarding or grooming of dogs is performed as a business.
So if there's no limit, then I guess we would just be asking Miriam to agree to a number, because you all own homes. If you live next door to someone that could have an unlimited amount of dogs,
Right.
over 11, wouldn't you be concerned?
Well, we do have a limit in the decision
All right,
of up to
okay.
20, but how many dogs are you taking care of right at this moment? I mean, just so that we can get a feel of what you've been handling.
Since this whole conversation started, it's been a while, right? When we started, I was probably around 10, and the summer's been very busy, so I've had more an average of like 15 and a high of 20 at times. Like I said, I keep them separated, so there's not more than 8 usually outside. And that's for me to maintain control and also to keep the noise level down. I did want to note that I don't necessarily think there's a correlation necessarily all the time between number of dogs and noise. You can have one dog who's barking nonstop and making a ton of noise, and you can have a bunch of dogs who are quiet. So I wanted to note that, like, it's not necessarily the number of dogs that's going to create a problem, it's how you manage the dogs that you have. And I do my best with that. Of course, some of what's also been happening is I've been having a lot of new dogs come, and there is a learning curve when they first come in where I have to train them not to be noisy. So that does happen, and that is something that, that would be a time where there is more noise. But beyond that, once we get past that stage, then they tend to be, in general, they're quiet.
Do you have other employees that work with you, or are you doing this single-handedly?
My fiance helps. Yeah.
Is he an employee or?
He's not an employee.
Okay.
So when you say he helps, like every day, or just,
He helps he helps if I need, like if I have to go pick up my daughter from school, then he mans the fort while I'm gone, and that kind of thing.
But I can understand the neighbors being upset if they hear barking, and, I don't know, so how long does it take to train a dog to not bark? I mean, it's just, I know it can be annoying, not one of my favorite things to listen to, but how long does it take for?
It kind of depends on the dog, but I would say within 2 or 3 visits, they get it.
But if they start barking, you're out there to make sure that they're
I move
quiet.
them, or I use one of my devices to,
You either put on a collar
yeah,
and then,
or an
okay.
ultrasonic machine. Generally speaking, I also try to remove the dogs that bark a lot during times when like people are coming and going, because that's a lot of when the barking might happen is when there's people coming in the house.
Mr. Chair, could I just ask the Jewetts, would you guys feel comfortable picking up the phone and calling her and saying, this is a concern and it's bothering us?
Yeah, I guess that's what we should start doing. She has texted me in the past, and I just need to go back in my text and get her phone number from her tonight, and be able to call her and say, listen, they're really loud right now, or something.
Yeah, I'd like to see that the communication is good and that she is very responsive to you in this case, But I want to make sure that you're comfortable
Right.
picking up the phone and calling and saying there's a problem, because where we talked about the incident earlier, she was unaware of that, and maybe if she'd gotten a phone call, she would have been able to talk to you regarding it.
Yeah, because that was a bad dog fight. It actually sounded like a dog fight.
Well, I don't even know. I might have to abstain because I've been using Curry's grooming for a decade for my dog, so I don't know where I sit or if I'm supposed to have anything to say, but I just wanted to open up the door to see that you guys are communicating for that sake.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Planner, am I allowed to vote on this, where I use them?
I think that's where you have to determine whether there's a perception of bias. If you're using a nearby dog groomer, you're not an abutter, so that's not a concern.
Okay. All right, but that was what I wanted to ask you guys. I wanted to make sure that there was communication and that you felt comfortable reaching out to Mrs. Scory and, and vice versa, that, she could call, she could expect a call from you if there was an incident where the barking was getting to be too much and you were being bothered by it.
Yeah.
It seems like she's gone to the trouble to, we're going to read the conditions tonight, but it seems like she's gone to the trouble to meet all of the conditions asked of her. But, again, you are right next to her, and I want to make sure that the door of communication is open and that you guys can talk at any time, and it doesn't have to go go farther than that, and you can just stop it there.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Does that seem fair for them to have the contact that they can get in touch with you, not just a home phone, maybe even your personal phone, so that they can call you immediately?
I really only use my cell phone.
Okay.
So, and Maury has my cell, well, I'll make sure.
I'm not putting you on the spot, I just want to make sure you guys are communicating.
I would appreciate that. I
Okay.
would love to hear from you anytime there's any issues of any
Yeah.
kind. Because I obviously, if I don't know that something's upsetting,
Well,
I can't
the
do
dog
that.
fight was very upsetting. I was cringing because I could hear one dog was not.
If it was Curry's and it wasn't hers, I mean.
Yeah. but,
Is it hard to
it was not.
differentiate between Curry's and Miss Gory's?
Yeah, because we're here, Curry's is here and she's here. So unless I step out of my house and go towards the bog, then I can figure out if it's Curry or not. If I'm in my house, and the thing is when I've been at Curry's, she keeps all the dogs in separate cages, and I know that at her house, they're all in one big corral. And so I just assumed it was coming from her house with the dogs fighting. Because it was awful sounding.
there's actually an outdoor play area outside of Curry's
Curry's,
in the
okay.
back. Yeah.
Okay, so in the future, I'll call you and you'll tell me it's not you, and then I'll call Curry.
Unfortunately, you have two of these things in
Yeah.
back here.
And I hope it's not my dog. She's pretty nice, She might be the one getting picked on.
Or the dog officer, we do have a dog, animal control officer.
Yeah.
I do.
And you can contact them through the police department usually.
And this
I,
is something that gets renewed every year too, this license, right?
Yeah, how does,
It gets inspected
Oh, I see.
on a regular basis.
Right, so the special permit is designed, the condition is that it runs with the individual, not with the property in the conditions. But there's no requirement, so then there's separate licensing by the town clerk's office, and I believe there's inspections through the animal control. But one of the conditions is that there's a whole section on control of dogs in the town general bylaws. That's section 6.1A, rules and regulations. There's a whole section there. And so one of the conditions is that the applicant has to abide by those regulations. Deals with the licensing of the dogs, also with the any noise complaints or whatever that are made to animal control. That try to set up a situation where it's a working with each other situation versus people getting upset with each other, and then things don't go well at that point.
yeah.
So that was one of the conditions, and then the other condition has to deal with working with the animal control officer, the dog grooming business, the neighbors, to make sure that measures are made to control the dogs, control the any excess barking. And it could be that Ms. Jewett heard a dog fight, but it may not have been at Ms. Gory's property or Curry's property. It could have been a different property. But at least that way, maybe it gets reported to the police, and then they can investigate the source of that noise. Where did that really awful sound come from? Yeah. And then that way, just figure out what the scenario is, and then that way say, okay, it's not my neighbor.
So it was probably one of the two, though. We don't really have any neighbors. It's cranberry bogs all around us, and there's a couple neighbors.
If I might, I don't think the Jewett's requests are out of line. As the only person in charge, I think 12 dogs is more than sufficient for any single person to handle at any one time. And two, and I know we're limiting the business operations, but I think it should be pickups only on Sunday. And I see she's concerns about cleaning up the dogs on the surrounding property, but the dogs shouldn't be leaving your property without written permission from the owner, and they shouldn't be taken on somebody else's property without their written permission, just to clarify that because that, otherwise you're 100, and whatever happens, it becomes your responsibility. But I honestly think that limiting the single operator to 12 dogs at a time in order to make sure that they're controlled in case there is a dog fight, what happens with one person there? How do you separate two dogs that are fighting? It's a very difficult issue, or if there's problems, maybe a dog escapes the leash, it gets out, and she has to go after it, then you got 11 other dogs hanging around, and I think anything more than 12 is putting too much responsibility on both us for approving more than 12 or the owner. As comfortable as she is at having so many, we did tour a facility where there were 11 dogs, and we saw what was available for indoor and outdoor facilities, and frankly, I think 11 dogs that were there that time, plus I believe you have a couple dogs of your own, so I think that it would be in the best interest of the town to limit it to a manageable number of dogs at any time. And because we're allowing a commercial business in a residential neighborhood, I think it should be limited to pickups only on Sunday. And I want to clarify, when we offer her the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., does that mean that the dogs should be kept kenneled between 7 p.m. at night and 7 a.m. in the morning? Is that how that works? Because those are your business operating hours, and if she's having overnights, are those dogs outside between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m.?
Well, we got multiple questions here, so let's take them one at a time. So currently, you say you have about 15 dogs there, and you have been doing up to 20 dogs. Have you noticed that there's been an increase in noise, barking? You have.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Some of it is because I've been working out in the yard more. And so when I'm out in my yard, I do notice it a lot more. And the windows have been open because it's summertime, so you're noticing it. But for the safety of the dogs, I think that it should be smaller amount.
We have a daughter and her boyfriend are on that far end of the house, and they're the ones who
Yeah, they complain
they
to us.
complain to us all the time about it. It's like, I'm far removed from it. I don't know. I'm at work, and when I come home, I'm usually working outside with tools. I don't notice it, but when I walk around the back of the house, I will. But they're always telling me, "Boy, it was wicked loud today," or "It was wicked loud last night." But that's because they're on that end of the house.
Do you know which place it's coming from, though?
No, I can't say for sure. No, and they can't either, honestly. So.
You can if you step out at the bog, I can tell.
Yeah, if you go up, all the way up to, walk out to the bog road right behind our house, you can determine it
Yeah,
there.
you can determine it, but I don't know how many dogs she needs to make it worth her while to
Right.
have a business either.
Right.
I do want to remind the board that in the application, it lists, by Ms. Gorey, the average number of dogs on a daily basis is 6 to 10, and I think by putting it up at 12, I think we're being more than generous. And I know numbers go up and down, but according to the application, from our previous meetings, 6 to 10 seem to be the rough number.
Can you speak about that?
Yes. First of all, I don't have 11 dogs in one pen at one time. I want that to be very clear. I have 2 dogs in each pen at a given time. Sometimes I have 3 to 5 if they're very manageable. I only put dogs together that I trust I can manage 2 at a time. And then I said, like again, occasionally 3 to 5, that's it. So I don't have hordes of dogs in one space. I have 4 separate pens, they're separated. That's how I'm able to manage them. The other dogs who are not outside in the pens are inside in crates. They're all separated. So I'm not like, the way that you described it, it sounded like I had 11 dogs like kind of milling around. Of course, if there was a fight.
No, there were 11 dogs on the premises is what I said at that time. Plus, of course, you have your own dogs, and that would make it somewhere around 13 dogs on the
Right,
premises.
but the way you were describing it at one point, it sounded like you were thinking that I had them all in one space.
Oh, no, I wasn't at all. I'm sorry if I was misconstrued.
That's okay, I just wanted
No.
to clarify that, because that would be unmanageable for me. And I am really careful about keeping the dogs managed, because they have to be calm. They have to be, because otherwise things get out of control quickly.
Miriam, what is your background? Did you go to school for this, or have you had special training to do this?
I have not. I have been learning on the job, and I've been doing it for five years-ish. There's definitely a learning curve. That's how I ended up with the setup I have now, because I had to learn, to keep things calm and in control, because you can't throw a bunch of dogs together and expect they're going to be,
And it's not too much for you to handle? You're a little person, and that's a lot.
Yeah, so if there were a dog fight, just to answer to that, that I use a hose for that. I also have like this homemade pepper spray stuff that I could use. I haven't had a dog fight recently. I actually never really had a dog fight, honestly. The dogs that I have, I would say, the dogs I've had for a while, I can say, stop, and they'll stop. The new dogs, I'm still training them, so they're not always, under control in that sense where they'll listen to me right away.
How did you learn how to train the dogs?
Well, I have trained my own dogs. I've taken I've done a lot of different training just to train my own dogs, but I haven't officially gone to college for this, or so I don't have a degree in animal behavior. But again, that's why I'm ultra conservative with keeping them safe, because I do not want anything to happen. I understand the concern of keeping the dog safe, keeping the numbers limited for that reason. That's why I do it the way I do it. I understand the noise issue, and that I'm doing the best I can with that. From my perspective, as a person trying to make a living, limiting my income is scary to me, because I'm a sole provider for my family. I started this business because I have a disabled child, and my parents are both disabled. So I'm not trying to make a ton of money, I'm just trying to get by and take care of my family. And I'm telling you this because this isn't I'm not trying to I'm not trying to go out and I'm not trying to get something out of this, except just take care of my family, that's all. So.
I just worry about you being safe, doing all this by yourself. That just,
Yeah. I mean, obviously there are always dangers, yes. But you cannot completely eradicate any danger. But I'm really conservative because I'm not a dog trainer. I'm not a professional in that sense. I do have the years of experience I put in, but I don't have the background from the school. So, yeah.
And what you're asking us is that you want a commercial business in a residential zone, and because of that, we have to take very close attention to your neighbors, your butters, and what the best interest of anybody in town. This isn't about limiting you or your business, it's about what's best for the town in general and the neighbors, because your property isn't zoned for commercial. It's very strictly residential, and you're asking us to to allow a commercial business in that, so we do have to take into consideration all the factors in regards to that.
But just a note, that, you know, the commercial daycare, that's allowed in the RA zoning district, so it's a permitted use. So it's not like we're adding something, you know, that's, you know, beyond the scope of what the zoning allows.
It's permitted with a special permit, correct?
Correct, yep.
So 15, 20 dogs, that's basically what you need to do to make a living?
Yes.
And that's changed since your original application of 6 to 10 dogs?
I wrote on the application what I had at the time, not necessarily what I was,
Previously, you said that 10 dogs is usually 7 to 10 dogs is
yeah,
what
that
you
was my
normally
average
get.
for years.
Right.
And I started out with like 1. So and it has grown because of COVID, honestly, like, so, yeah.
I think that Carver's becoming more and more of a bedroom community, like many of the other communities up and down 95 and 24 and 3.
So how big is your property again? Is it like
I have a couple acres, I think, I don't know the exact.
It's 2.08 acres.
only certain amount of it can be used like for the pen now, right? Because of the wetlands, correct?
Because of the cranberry bog.
Because of the wet, well,
So,
It's a funky shaped
Yeah, it's
property.
weird.
so what I'm trying to get at is 15, 20 dogs would probably be max you could put there because you have no other room to add pens or anything.
Yeah.
So why couldn't we cap it at 20 and that's it?
I think
Because you
that's what Jim has, that's what we have in our decision tonight.
Yeah, I mean, because you
Mr.
don't
Shea
have any
feels
more
that it should
land to
be
put
12.
more pens,
Yeah.
so there's no way you could do it then, you know? And if you're gonna, your neighbors contact you because there's an issue, as long as you took care of that issue and they're happy with it, I don't see an issue there.
Why don't we give it a year and see what happens?
Well, I was thinking about something like that. I don't know if we can write this in the condition or not, but if we allowed a maximum of 20 dogs, but it's to be reviewed yearly or something like that, or something that would, if there were a lot of complaints, it would reduce the number of dogs.
Or we could allow 12 dogs and have her come back in a review a year. If there's no issues with it, then maybe we can increase it.
Well, the thing is now, you're saying you have about 12 dogs. She's had the business for 5 years. She really hasn't had any problems or neighbor complaints.
We know about.
But the thing is that you don't have 20 dogs there every day. It's up and down, it's up and down. So it's not like you have 20 dogs there all the time.
And also in the cooler months, it tends to be, it tends to drop off too. So, at least in the past, that's what happens.
I would meet with the middle ground of 15, but I think 20 is irresponsible. We all visited the facility. We've seen how many pens can fit in that basement, and dogs inside and dogs outside breaks that up, I agree. But I honestly wouldn't feel comfortable with going any higher than that. I don't think it's responsible. I don't know who here owns dogs, but I do. And dog interactions are a very chancy thing at times, plus people have to live next door to it directly on both sides. We heard from the other neighbor earlier, and when he came in and gave us his 2 cents too, and we have to take that into opinion whether he's here or not. He took the time to make a public statement in regards to it.
I don't own a dog, but if I did, I would be thinking twice about dropping my dog off with one person watching 20 dogs.
Well, it all depends upon what the law says, but
Yeah, Well, I think that
There are-
I'd be more, if I had a dog, I'd be more willing to pay a little more money for someone that was watching 10 dogs. Maybe she could make her money just by raising her prices and taking less dogs.
I don't know, would 15 dogs still be a maximum of 15 dogs? Would that work for your business? I know you say you need 20, so I guess we keep, I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm not an expert. All I can say is that the time that we were there, you may have had 11 dogs out there. There was no barking. The only barking we heard was from the business on the side of you. So I would be inclined to, I don't know how I know how Mr. Shea feels. I know how Rich feels. But, you know, I would be inclined to go with the 20 since it goes up and down, and then to have that reviewed and maybe reduced if there were a lot of complaints. I don't know how we're going to state that exactly, but...
Maybe, you would have to make it specific that had to be complaints recorded at the police department.
Upon review.
But, so, you know, when and where are they making the complaints? And if it's something, say they made it to the animal control officer, they log those calls. Because when we had a technical review meeting, the deputy chief searched the database and they said there was only one complaint, but it was not a dog at Miss Gorey's property, it was just another dog in the general neighborhood. So it could be that, you know, people have complaints, they log them with the police department, you know, / animal control officer, and then that would be how you would gauge the number of complaints, and then, you know, what the result of those complaints were. You know, were they directly at that address, or were they from a different address? And that's the only way you can, you know, because someone can come in and just say, oh yeah, you know, we complained a bunch of times, but who's logging those complaints and where are they being logged? Where the police department, you know, logs those complaints.
Well, if we follow the recommendations of the board and stayed in touch with Miriam and spoke directly to her if we had issue,
Leave the police out of
and
it.
leave the police out of it and look at it in a year, is that an acceptable format? I mean, we all have phones today that show when we text or call someone. We'd always have that type of...
To me, that seems fair and reasonable.
Because then
We have a
at
log,
least we would
some
be able
maintains a
to
log.
pinpoint if it's, what's the name, the Curry?
Yeah, the other dog place or
Yeah.
Miriam's.
Because I don't want to make the mistake of complaining to Miriam if it's not even her place, you know? So if I call the police and say, oh yeah, they're barking like crazy out there, they're just going to do exactly what you just mentioned, that they're going to have trouble distinguishing which is which. We're probably the only ones that are going to know for sure by walking out back.
By
So,
the time the police come, they could probably be noisy beyond here.
yeah, I wouldn't want our relationship to be like that, you know, a neighbor where we have to be in touch with each other through the authorities.
You'd be open to sharing your text messages
Yeah, I'm sure Lori...
as part of our review in a year's time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We still need to get over the hump of the 15 to 20, though. I don't want to see your income limited either. However, I feel as though you have grown from 6 to 10 to 10 to 12, and if we were to keep it at 15, I would think that would be kind of reasonable. That's personally how I feel. I know that you have a fiance to help you, and I feel comfortable that he's helping you with, say, at the very most 15. My question to you is, would you be at this time having to turn a couple of people away? I wouldn't want that to happen to you either. So I'm stuck as far as the way I want to make my decision. I really like to keep it at 15. I'd like to visit with them in a year's time, find out how your contact has been, find out how the barking has been, you know, and maybe reconsider the 20 where they hadn't had any problems. But I don't want to limit if you're running it and you have, you're going to be turning people away.
Honestly, I think it would just be, it's like Wednesdays. There are some Wednesdays where it just gets full. So it's not like, I'm trying to answer your question concisely. I wouldn't be turning people away in general. I would just be scheduling them differently. Does that make sense? So instead of lumping everybody together, because everyone wants Wednesday, I just spread it out more.
That would be great. I would like to be able to keep it at 15, because I think you would get a yes across the board if we were able to keep it at 15. I shouldn't speak for Ellen and John, but I think you've heard from Connie, and you've heard from Rich, and you're hearing from me, and clearly the chairman is okay with that number. I just think that you probably would be able to work with that, work with them, look at it, see how it looks, and if they've been happy and haven't had any concerns, maybe possibly moving it up. But I think, that more than doubles when you first came in to see us in the first place.
I'm willing to do that.
I would like to make a motion.
Well, how about if
I
we,
just want to clarify something before, and that's all fine, that's good, actually. It says daycare hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Does that mean pick up and drop off for boarding also as part of that? Or is that outside of is there 15 people going to be coming and going on Saturdays and Sundays? Well, it's in the decision, so I just wanted to clarify.
Right, so, but I think it's best to have Corey answer that question, because
What's
Monday
your
through Friday is really it's really geared to the daycare business.
Right.
And then on the weekends, if she's boarding dogs, I don't know how many people typically come in and board if it's just one person, but sometime during the day, they're gonna come and drop the dog off. I know, we use a doggy daycare where if we're going away for the day, we'll bring our dog down to the daycare, and it could be 10 o'clock, could be midday, and then later on, depending on how late they're open, we'll pick the dog up, or dogs up,
Right.
at close time. But
I was just trying to figure out if the boarding hours, in other words, people aren't going to be showing up at our house at 11 o'clock at night to pick up dogs.
No.
Are the pickups and drop-offs for the boarding hours to be included in the Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there'll be no drop-offs and pickups on the weekend?
Well, okay, I see. So are you saying, I'll try to answer this. So, right now, most people board their dogs like for a week or a weekend. So generally speaking, for boarding, they drop off like on a Thursday or Friday, and they pick up they might sometimes pick up on Sunday or Monday. That's generally speaking for boarding. Are you saying that I should not have anybody coming in?
No, I'm just trying to clarify. It says the hours are going to be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. And frankly, I don't have an issue with people coming by and stopping and picking up dogs, but again, you have residential neighbors and full-on they might would like maybe a day without cars coming and going constantly and all the issues in regards to it. But I'm just asking because it says that the hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday, and I'm asking, does that include the pickups and the drop-offs for the boarding? Because
If there are pickups and drop-offs on the weekend, I guess I didn't put that in there. I try to make it later for drop-offs and earlier for pickups, meaning because I want to sleep. So like 8:39 for drop-offs and like pickups maybe 5 or 6, but that doesn't always happen. Because I've been going so far by the 7 to 7, thing. And I do have to say, guys, that I did commit to weekend daycare through October for some of the people over here at
oh no, the daycare is fine.
Yeah.
Oh, daycare or boarding?
Daycare, because we're switching it now to like daycare during the week and boarding only on the weekends. So, but I'm committed for daycare through the end of October. I just wanted to let you guys know that. So, did I answer your question?
No,
No.
I'm just trying to figure out what your hours of operation are, and
My hours
I'm
of
trying to
operation on the
clarify
weekend are
that.
supposed to be 7 to
7
7.
to 7, yeah.
What?
So it's 7 to 7, Monday through
Sunday.
Friday
Sunday.
is Monday through Friday is what this decision we're looking at says.
It used, I changed because per everybody's request, I took the suggestion of just having daycare during the week and boarding on the weekends. But before, I used to be open 7 days a week for everything, 7 to 7. So I haven't actually addressed the hours on the weekend yet.
But we'll be addressing that tonight.
So we can change the decision, yeah.
Well, so I think
Which is okay.
Monday through Friday is doggy daycare,
Yes,
7 to 7.
yes.
And then on the weekends, it's as needed. If someone's coming in to drop off a dog or pick a dog up, you're not having, how many people are typically doing that? Is it one person, two
Yeah, it's not a
people?
lot.
So 1 or 2 people,
Yeah.
3 people?
Yeah.
So it's not a large horde of people coming in and
Right,
going.
right. It's not a lot of traffic.
And it sounds like it's going to cover, it's for the coverage of the King Richard's Fair. And that's
Right.
usually done by 7 o'clock.
Yeah, so I just put that note in because we're suggesting a change from daycare 7 days a week to daycare 5 days a week. But if this decision goes through, I've already committed to the end of October for daycare 7 days a week.
So if it was as needed on the weekend, but before 7, is that going to work for the person that's working at the fair and dropping their dog off?
Yeah, well, they should.
I think that's what Connie's trying to
Yeah,
get.
yeah,
He's
they-
trying to get a commitment of,
Yes.
you're not going to have somebody having a dog dropped off at 11 o'clock at night.
No, I've never done that. I have kids. I have to put my kids, 7 o'clock, once in a while, I've had an emergency where it's like 9, then I'm like, no. I have to put my kids to bed, so 7 o'clock is like, that's it. Does that answer?
Yeah.
For me,
So
did that
we-
answer,
So we can do like 7 to 7 Monday through Sunday then?
Yeah,
To include
personally,
everything.
I think we should limit it on the weekends, but because I think, regardless of, dogs make noise, and the neighbors have shown up several times with concerns. The other neighbor had concerns. I think some sort of limitation. Maybe it's only pickups on Sunday, or it's limited to.
Well, it sounds like the only thing she's looking for is a pickup on Sunday, right?
Because if you're boarding it, it'll be there Saturday, right? And if it's doggy daycare, then they won't need to be dropping it off in the morning. So I think limiting it to pickups only on Sunday would be a reasonable request.
Not everybody leaves their dog until Sunday, but I could potentially, I have to kind of.
No, I mean, that Saturday, your business operations would be fine. We can extend the conditions to include Saturday, but I think Sunday should be limited to pickups only.
Oh, like for 40.
Well, yeah, basically the dogs can be picked up anytime, but no drop-offs on,
No daycare on Sunday.
no daycare, no drop-offs.
Yeah, I was actually going to take the daycare off on Saturday too.
I think we can, I don't see that the board would have any argument allowing you to keep it up to the end of October, because I expect that has to do with some of our commercial enterprises in town. But if it was limited to 15 and pickups only on Sunday, I think it would be, as long as it's all understood with everybody. I mean, there's not a lot of gray area.
I think it sounds good, and I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd like to second that.
So we have a motion and a second for the discussion. I'd just like to ask Jim one thing. How often does this license have to be reviewed? Is it yearly or?
Well, this is a special permit,
Yeah.
all right? And then separately, there's licenses. And
Oh.
I don't really know, through the town clerk's office. I'm not sure what the frequency of the license.
Okay, so once we grant this special permit, this goes on forever?
Right, with the
special-
exception of the condition.
Specific to musical.
So number 12, the special permit shall run with the applicant only and shall be void if the applicant does not reside at the location of the business.
Okay.
So,
I mean, the only thing, I was just thinking that if this business went well and it was quiet and the neighbors didn't have any complaints, if in a certain amount of time she wanted to increase the number of dogs, say up to,
well, you can also
To
put in
20.
to have an annual review of the project,
Or maybe
so,
just-
which is separate from a licensing requirement.
We wouldn't have to do it every year.
well, I'm just saying she wanted up to 20, and it fluctuates up and down. So I'm just saying, if everything went well for a year and there weren't any complaints, then, maybe you could increase it a couple of dogs or a few more dogs or whatever. Cap it at 20. I mean, really, we got, the bylaw.
Right, so we're looking to,
Should be
looks like we're going to
changed.
cap it at
Yeah.
15, right?
Yeah.
So if she wants to come back, she can just come back and request a modification to do an increase, and so it's not in any particular schedule.
And at that
Okay.
time, we look at, if the Jewetts are available and want to, share their phone and the text messages and the conversations that they had,
Okay.
we can take a look at it at that time.
Okay. Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion to go ahead. Oh, we have
Okay, we
to
had the
finish the...
motion. Ellen was the second. I did a little discussion there. This is to close the public
Close
hearing.
public hearing, correct.
Do you have, okay, so,
Did you want to read the conditions?
Well, we're closing the public hearing.
Closing, okay.
I can close the public hearing, and then we'll vote on the approval of the conditions and the special permit.
Well, I think we're gonna have to go,
Okay.
we're gonna have to go through all the conditions.
Yeah.
And make sure
Yeah.
that we're all in
Right.
agreement with that.
This is for the public hearing, though, so we're going to close the public hearing. Have a motion, a second. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so that was unanimous. All right, so let's go on to the conditions then, if you want to read the conditions, Jim.
Okay, condition 1, a true copy of the recorded decision as registered at the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds shall be submitted to the board. Condition 2, the applicant shall comply with section 6.1A, rules and regulations for the control of dogs contained in the town's general bylaws as amended. Condition 3, the business may operate the doggy daycare business Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and overnight boarding nights and weekends. Is there any change to that?
It was limited to pickups only on Sunday.
Okay, so pickups only on Sunday.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, I know. I just had a question. She can board during the week, but only inside. Is that right?
So then,
All right, so just to come back to that, so I'm just going through the conditions as we're going through, and then we can, if there's something that, so pick up at dogs only on Sundays is the phrase I added to that. So the business may operate the doggy daycare business Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and overnight boarding nights and weekends. Pick up at dogs only on Sundays. Is that okay with everybody? Okay.
Well, it's, pickup of the boarding dogs, I think. right?
Yeah,
the boarding dogs.
it sounds like you have to leave your dog until Sunday, and that's the only time that you can pick them up.
actually, it says, to answer your question, boarding occurs 7 days a week.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
But to make it easy, just picking them up on Sundays only, not drop-offs.
But you board them, you put them in your basement. You put them in the house. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hit back in the.
Right, right,
What I'm trying to say.
right. All right.
Okay, so So pickup of boarding dogs only on Sundays, or do you want to change that language?
Yeah, I think that's what.
That was right.
Pick up of
Yeah.
boarding dogs.
Just wanted to make sure it was boarding.
Okay, so we got that boarding. All right. Now, the original condition, the maximum number of customer dogs, including daycare and boarding dogs, shall be originally 20 dogs per day, and now we want that to be 15 dogs per day?
Correct.
Okay. The applicant shall provide contact information to the animal control officer and neighbors so that the applicant can be contacted directly with any complaints about nuisance barking. Everyone okay with that? The applicant shall work with the animal control officer, the nearby dog grooming business, and neighbors to develop strategies to mitigate nuisance barking. Measures to minimize barking include move barking dog to inside kennel, change configuration of dogs, use bark collar or ultrasonic device for problematic dogs, work with neighboring dog grooming daycare business, and provide contact information to neighbors. Kind of repeat a little bit. Number 7, all dogs, including applicant's personal dogs, shall be leashed when being walked or exercised. Everyone okay with that?
So she can walk 15 dogs at a time?
Well, I don't think she's walking. Applicant may only walk 15 dogs at a time. Okay, condition number 8. Dog waste shall be picked up daily on site and removed from the property at least once a week. The applicant shall adhere to the requirements outlined in the Carver Fire Department letter dated June 15, 2021, which includes the following. Smoke and carbon monoxide detectors to be installed according to the code, installation of fire extinguishers, preparation of a disaster emergency management procedure to be reviewed and approved by the fire department, and inspection of the premises to evaluate fire safety by the fire department. The applicant shall be in compliance with condition 9 within 60 days of the approval of the special permit. Is that okay? And then you know to contact Jesse Boyle. I think he gave you a copy of, there's a fire code standard that he gave you relating to animal safety. He emailed it to you.
Oh, I remember that.
Okay, so,
I thought I spoke with him on the phone, and then I think he told me, or maybe he emailed me what to look up, but when I looked it up, I couldn't, it was a lot of stuff I didn't understand,
Okay.
so.
but regarding that, you can contact Jesse Boyle at the fire
Yeah.
department, Assistant Deputy Chief. And then also to schedule the inspection for the premises. Condition number 10, all dogs must be properly licensed by their home community, and such information must be made available to the animal control officer on request. Condition 11, vaccination records for all dogs shall be submitted to the operator or business owner prior to the dogs being accepted at the facility. Such record shall be made available to the animal control officer upon request. Number 12, this special permit shall run with the applicant only and shall be void if the applicant does not reside at the location of the business. So if you move away, then you gotta shut down the business. Anyone satisfied with those?
I know it's closed, but can I just ask one thing? If it's doggy daycare from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and she's boarding other dogs, so at 7 p.m., she takes those dogs outside and brings them in a kennel in her basement, so they can't be hurt anymore. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, so what happens after 7 at night? The dogs are all in? Or,
Usually I take them out to go to the bathroom, like later than 7.
Yeah, I mean, they,
Yeah, but they're not in the cage.
They're not running around, I just take them out on a
Okay.
leash, they go to the bathroom, and I put them back
Yeah.
inside.
So it should be quiet after 7 p.m. every day.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, unless my dogs are.
because all the dogs that you were holding for the day, they've already gone,
Yeah.
right, that you've done the doggy daycare
Yeah,
for.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
any boarding
okay.
dogs,
Go into the house.
put them to
Yeah.
sleep, put them away for the night, they would first go out and then you bring them inside. So the dogs are kept inside in the kennels overnight.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I just didn't understand the doggy daycares from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., but she's gonna overnight them, so
Yeah.
at 7 p.m. do they go inside, so there's no more noise after 7 p.m.?
And so it's a kind of a different group of dogs.
I mean, how do you find it now? Is there noise after 7 o'clock?
My daughter does complain sometimes, but we'll just tell her the whole scenario, what's gonna go on.
Okay.
She's, like I said, down the other end of the house, so she's much closer.
She may want to be able to communicate with Miss Gorey as well.
Yeah, okay.
And my dogs do sometimes go out at the end of the day and they run around and
Yeah,
play.
yeah, anybody's entitled to that
When
that
they're
has a
playing,
dog.
they're
Yeah.
barking.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so those are the conditions, so I'll
Want me to make a
entertain a
motion?
motion, yeah, to approve the conditions
I'll
and the
make that
special
said
permit.
motion.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion from Kevin, a second from Ellen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, so that was
So five
unanimous.
positive votes.
Yes, they're all positive, yeah.
And got you used to those roll call votes.
All right. It was a long process. I know you've gone through a lot, you've moved your fences, you've always complied with everything we've done. I hope your business goes well.
Yeah.
And you communicate with your neighbors. They seem to be nice people and willing to let you have your business there, so that's a good thing, so. Okay. Thank everybody for being here tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, because it does say it's smoke detectors and all that stuff there.
Do we have a sign-in sheet, Jim, for everyone?
This is what,
No, I guess we don't. We only had a few people.
and then this is front page.
Did we have any other business?
But
Because both of them, the other business was continued, right? There's a young lady in there.
I have to open up the meeting for JCM.
Oh, there were two parts of JCM?
No, we have to open it.
You have to open it to continue it, because this
Oh,
hasn't been
okay.
opened. It's.
Oh, I get it.
Well,
We-
so here's the situation. The initial public hearing was open, and then it was discovered that they did not have a request for a special permit for two principal structures on the same property. So they had to advertise for that one. So, and it's kind of confusing, but if the public hearing notice says amended, and it has a highlight of that special
Okay.
permit.
Do you have the public hearing notice?
I gave it straight up, see that blue?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So,
All right.
amended public hearing notice, it's been published, and the notices have been sent out to all the neighbors.
Okay. Okay, so let me read this. We have an amended public hearing notice in accordance with the provisions of the Town of Carver zoning bylaw. The Carver Planning Board will hold a public hearing on September 28th, 2021 at 7 PM in the Carver Town Hall. It's a meeting room 4, I believe.
God bless you.
And on the application of JCM Carver Acquisitions LLC requesting site plan review and special permit pursuant to sections 2200 use regulation for fast food or drive-in restaurant. 2300 is dimensional requirements, and 2330 is multiple principal structures. 3100, which is site plan review, and 4300, which is water resource protection. 5300, which is the special permit, and other pertinent sections of the Carver zoning bylaw, located at 287 Tremont Street, which is Assessors Map 94, Lot 5-0-R, to demolish an existing 525 square foot building and construct a new 50-foot by 25-foot ice cream shop and a 90-foot by 50-foot three-bay craftsman tradesman building landscaping and parking. Property is located in the general business district. Any persons interested in wishing to be heard should appear at the time and place designated. A copy of the plan is on file at the planning department and may be reviewed during normal business hours. Carver Planning Board, Bruce Mackey, Chair. Published date September 10th, 2021, and September 17th, 2021. So, we've opened the public hearing, and now we did, I suppose now we should vote in this.
Should I go ahead? Because there's some other information that's...
Oh, okay, please, yeah, go ahead, Joe.
So this is an email from Thomas Przerski from Merrill Engineering. So continuous request on behalf of Carver Acquisitions, we are respectfully and formally asking to continue tonight's hearing until, have the incorrect date, but he corrected it later, November 9, 2021. And so they won't be here tonight. And then time frame to act. When you open up a public hearing, the planning board has 60 days to act on a matter. So I asked them, we need to have a grant to extend the closing of the public hearing. So please consider this your formal permission to extending the close of the public hearing and time for the planning board to act to December 31st, 2021. And then just as a project update, the reason for the delay is that they had to, the Board of Health reviewed their application. There's an existing well on the property, and there's concern with the second building about putting strain on the water supply from the well. And so the Board of Health requested that they contact DEP to review the water supply from the well. And so they wanted to schedule enough time to get through that review, and then on November 9th, they hope to have that wrapped up, as well as have the initial comments from Fuss and O'Neill taken care of, being addressed. So that's the update, and so
Okay.
that's the request for the continuance.
I just have a question. Now, as it's been, all the information's been presented, because I kind of feel like I'm surprising everybody when I bring stuff up. If I have concerns in regards to this, at what point should I bring them up?
Concerns about the project itself?
The project that was presented prior to us before, this project, yeah. In regards to the delivery and the trash storage and, I have concerns on those matters and the placement. I mean, and I feel like I'm surprised, everybody's surprised that I have issues with it later on down the line.
We haven't heard this before.
Where it hasn't really
Not this particular
right,
one.
Because we opened up the initial public hearing, and this is where it gets confusing, because there was initial hearing request, then they asked for a continuance, and then they held off for the second special permit for the two principal structures. So now we're kind of caught up with those two different special permits. So they haven't really presented anything to us.
Okay, then that's when I bring up my concerns.
Well, they have to present plans so
Right,
that we
so-
can make comments on. We haven't
Well,
seen
they-
any plans,
Well,
so
that's
you
not-
have to wait for...
That's not true. They've presented plans already.
I don't remember seeing
I don't have
anything.
with-
Nothing formally. I haven't seen anything formally. Not on this.
They've presented site plans.
I think I may
but this
have
is-
included site plans with the previous planning board packet. I just don't think they've ever come to actually present.
They
it.
haven't been here to present it.
Right,
We have been
right.
presented with the plans, and that's why,
Right.
having looked through them, I had concerns in regards to certain aspects of it.
Right, so I think, yeah, you keep your notes, and then at the meeting when they do come, you present
Okay,
that.
because that's normally what I
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be the same.
Thank you.
Yeah, because they'll come with the finalized plans. You know, this project has kept changing and changing and changing because of different regulations and concerns and Board of Health and Conservation and whatever.
And
So-
Connie, your questions are always important and necessary to keep people on their toes. No, seriously.
No, I know you're serious. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
okay.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so, yeah, so we'll finally see something about, we'll see what they're going to prepare, but this is going to be down the line. It's going to be a while. Okay, so we had, okay, so I opened it, yeah, so we need a motion to continue so we're going to hear this November 9th, okay. Okay, so I need a motion to continue this hearing to November 9th at 7 o'clock.
Go ahead.
Okay, I will make the motion to continue the application for JCM Carver Acquisitions LLC to November 9th,
And I'll
2021.
Is there a motion? Do I hear a second?
Ellen.
Oh,
seconded.
Ellen. Oh, sorry, Ellen. Okay, so you have a motion second. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. So we already talked about the 96 Forest Street. Okay,
Did we vote on that?
We didn't.
we vote on that? Okay. So we have a request for a minor modification to site plan on 96 Forest Street. Eric Pontiff to modify approved site plan to allow owner to combine 4 bays in the 5-bay rear building to lease to tenant of front building. So there's been a request to continue this hearing to September 14th. So can I hear a motion?
Well, actually, no, October.
Oh, I'm
September
sorry.
14th is continued from.
Oh, okay, I'm
Continued
sorry.
to October 12th.
October 12th, yep, and I wrote that right there. So October 12th at 7 o'clock. I hear a motion.
I'll make the motion to continue the 96 4th Street EICP LLC, Eric Pontiff. Request for minor modification to October 12th.
Okay, thank you. Second? Who second? Ellen, second? Okay. Further discussion? Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, abstentions? Okay. So now we go to planning board member notes.
Could I, one of the things we.
Oh, there were other things that you gave us in the
Right.
package.
So we had the preliminary
Sorry.
subdivision plan that was approved at the September 14 meeting. And so you asked me to write a decision, which I did, so you have that in front of you. And then we also have the plans that would need to be signed by the board, need an endorsement. So,
Do you have the plans here?
yes, I
To sign?
have 2 plans here.
Okay, so we can sign those after the meeting, maybe?
Right.
Did
So I
that?
just wanna
Okay.
make everyone aware that, yeah, that's a piece of business from a previous meeting that we have to take care of before we scramble.
Okay, do you want to go over the conditions, or?
Just figure out what I do with that. Okay, we use these. All right, so this is regarding Edie Makepeace. So at the September 14th meeting, the planning board voted to endorse the preliminary subdivision plan submitted by Edie Makepeace for a 2-lot subdivision off Wareham Street out of a 468-acre tract of land. So that's just the intro. So the requested number of waivers that the planning board approved and also Fresnel recommended. And there's really one condition, and that has to do with the proposed subdivision road shall be crowned. That was the one condition.
Okay, I remember that, yeah.
Do you need us to sign this tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Get that signed, and then we'll one in the file, and then one to the town clerk's office. And the preliminary plans are different than definitive subdivision plans, where these are not, what do you call it, appealable, so they'll just be on file, but preliminary plans are not appealable, whereas definitive plans are appealable. So I just want to make a decision. So you don't have that language on here that says, you know, you have 20 days to appeal. So go ahead.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision plan of land in Wareham Street, Carver, Mass, prepared for 80 Makepeace Company, Inc., 156 Sahonet Road, Wareham, Mass.
Mr. Chair, so this was already approved at the previous meeting, September
thought we-
14th.
Okay,
We
so...
just need to sign it.
Oh, we just need to sign the conditions?
Right, this is
Oh,
housekeeping.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
okay. Let's do that.
Housekeeping before we read the notes and go home,
Yeah.
right?
And then just before we go to, I'll make changes to this document, but if I get everyone's signatures, then I can make the changes and then we can file that with the clerk's office tomorrow night.
Chairman, before the end of your meeting, I'm Judy Richards, I live on 5 Lillian Way. I came purposely for Pontiff, for the minor modification. I have a big concern there because, well, I was hoping he would be here to ask questions. I believe that they're going to use the other bays to store the hazardous materials. And when they first had the engineer go out and look and do for the hazardous waste, for the occupancy, I believe in the future it's going to exceed the guidelines that the state sets for hazardous material in a certain piece of square footage.
Do you have your concerns? We're not hearing that right now.
Well, I know.
We're going to hear that at our next meeting. Yeah.
I did speak to the fire department today,
Yeah.
and they're aware of all that. And my second reason for coming would be North Main Street and 2 Lillian Way. I've gone to the DPW, I've gone to the planning administrator, I've gone to Mr. Walsh. There's a problem with the flooding there. They seem to have filled one of the drainage.
Oh, catch basin drains?
Catch basin
Yeah.
draining.
Okay.
They also have been kind of negligent in cleaning up the street and keeping it tidy, except for when 2 weeks ago, when I spoke to Mr. Walsh and the planning administrator, and they did go and push it back with the payloader, but now it still seems to be that's just not draining.
Okay.
They're kind of not being the friendly neighbors that they're supposed to be.
Okay.
And I realize there's going to be some other issues coming up with the project there that Bayberry LLC is doing, and I'm just going to wait for their request for modifications for their site.
Sure, yeah.
But I just wanted to, I don't want to take your time about AG nutrient, but I feel that they're going to exceed their hazardous material up there, and it might be an issue.
Okay, we'll
And
take a look at
safety
that.
for the town.
Yeah, we'll have
And
Jim
I'll be
take...
back when they come back.
Okay, thank
All right,
you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. All right, okay.
Planning notes?
Let's see, planning board member notes. We can go on to that now, Jim? We're all set? Okay. Anybody have anything that they'd like to say tonight? Planning director notes. Were you going to talk about the solar project pilot taxes? Or that's on the agenda, but we had discussed that a couple of times already, but
Yeah, I meant to take that off.
take that off,
but,
okay. And then you had discussion that was about the papers we have to sign tonight, the
Right.
decision and the plans.
But do have an announcement to make, so the
Yeah.
58 Montalo Street intersection project, so the contract has been awarded for that. PA Landers was the low bidder, and they're expected to start within the next 2 weeks on working on that particular project. Notices have gone out to all the neighbors and the neighboring businesses, but the nature of most of the work is between Route 58 and Montalo Street, where they're going to, carve in a new entrance to Montalo Street. So initially, a lot of the work is going to be off of those two roads. At some point in the future, we don't have the schedule yet, but they're going to be replacing the culvert that goes underneath Montalo Street, and then repaving the road, or reconstructing the road up to approximately the entrance where it goes into the urban renewal area. So I just want to, make the board members aware of that.
Very good, thank you, Jim. We do have the minutes of 9/14/21.
Thank you for sending them yesterday.
You're
I
welcome.
don't know if everybody had a chance to look at them. I did look at them, and the only thing that I can say, there was no mention of the chair speaking to the board about the advice from town council. So I don't know if that can be corrected, or was that in?
So Ashley is here, so she can make any corrections to the minutes that you decide.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where that came in. It was when that discussion came in, and the only reason I'm saying this is because now these minutes are going to go to court, so it's important that.
So is it in regards to 223 Meadow Street?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
I'll listen to it and I'll find it.
Okay, I know I said it several times, to just mention to the board that the town council said that they had reviewed the bylaw, and they felt that people that were beyond the 200-foot buffer didn't have to sign any kind of waiver.
So
But I think that's important, that should be in there.
there is discussion. That's a long paragraph, but
I don't have that in front of me right now. I read it this afternoon.
There's a sentence in there too that should probably be removed.
So actually, it's about 10 sentences down where it starts talking about the waivers. It starts with Phil Mackey said he would like to meet with town council if he could in regards to the waivers. And so probably somewhere in that discussion, that particular.
Okay, I'll add it in there.
And then the other item is on the first page where it makes reference to, it says Andy Kleins, and it should read Andy Glines, Glines.
Perfect, thank you. And you said there were some sentences that you removed?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. About 9 lines down on the second page, it says it was clarified that the vaults are underground, and that should be removed. The very next sentence says they wouldn't be flush with the ground, so it clearly wasn't clarified.
Yeah, because the vaults are actually, they're in the ground, but the tops of them
They're
are
not,
above,
yeah, they're not
are above
underground.
the ground.
And there was, this one's kind of a pain in the butt. I did write it down, but continuing from the first page to the second page, it was pointed out that they only required 3 of the 6 waivers, and there was some conversation about what legal counsel requires versus what was required on the last approval. I would appreciate my reference to section 358021. Mr. Shea notes that proponents only have 3 of the 6 required waivers in regards to the setbacks. Mr. Shea refers to section 358025-1, allowing 50-foot setbacks, providing standard setbacks providing standard setbacks and all screening requirements are waived in writing by all direct abutters in a residential agricultural zoning district, period. An affidavit signed by all owners of record of all direct abutters within a residential agricultural zoning district must be on file with the planning board, period. Mr. Shea, and I wrote it all down, so
I'll steal it from you.
Mr. Shea notes previously approved project had 600-foot setback from next nearest abutters, allowing for reduced screening. And Mr. Shea requested waivers from all direct abutters.
Okay, I will add that. Right where.
Should we do these corrections and then review them and then vote on it at our next meeting?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. So, would you be okay doing the corrections? So Ashley is of service to us through this meeting. She may make the next meeting, but she has to clarify her schedule. But then afterwards, she has a whole bunch of other committees that she's working for, so she won't be continuing with us. But she's given me some time to find another person. So with that in mind,
What's your email address so that we could, can
No, I
we
appreciate it.
email if we have some corrections that need her to confirm?
Mr. Chair.
Or do we need to email them to you or what?
Ashley, are you okay with members sending the proposed changes to you? Okay.
I can collect all of them, send it all back, you can review it, and if there's any other changes, you can just let me know.
Okay.
I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so then once you have it, you can send it to Jim, and then we'll review it at our next meeting.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can do it as you send them. I know how important it is to get these correct, so just let me know.
So we're gonna lose Ashley, and we don't have anybody.
Not quite yet. Sue Hannon said she could do the last meeting in October,
Okay.
but we're trying to see if we can get someone to fill in. I asked Ashley tonight, she's going to check her schedule to see if she can
Okay,
come in on
all right.
October 12th.
All
We
right.
would love to have her back.
We would. All right, so we'll table the minutes of 9/14/21 until they're corrected, and then we'll vote on them at our next meeting. So our next meeting dates, see, the next meeting is going to be 10/12. So we got 10/12, 10/26, 11/9, and 11/23.
I will not be available 10/12.
Which date was that, John?
10/12.
10/12?
All right. All right, so entertain a motion for adjournment.
I will make that motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor, please
What do you
say
have to
aye.
sign, Jim?
Aye.
All right.
All right, thank you. That was unanimous.